All right. It's your man. I am back, y'all. I don't see my equalizer going up and down. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess we'll find out shortly, huh? I'm making a little snack, man. I know I'm a little rusty. I've been a little broke down. But I'm back. It's me. It's the guy. You know what I mean? It's the same old fella. I don't understand why my equalizer ain't working. We'll find out soon, huh? I got auto duck on, but we'll figure it out. But I just want to say,
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
because this might be the last good Christmas we have. I was going to try to do something on climate change while I'm whipping up this little snack before I crash, man. But man, I actually did my homework this time, guys. You should be proud of me. I'm going out with a bang. I spent at least 4.5 hours doing in-depth studies and researching all of Trump's picks. And let me tell you, the silver lining is a couple of them are decent. But the worst part is he has picked people and nominated them for positions that they're not qualified for, but they're qualified for other candidate positions. And we're going to go through all of them because took notes. I'm talking, I got like 10 pages of notes here. I'm talking about Daddy did his homework, man. Like I said, I'm going out with a bang. I was going to try to get the climate change, but I might have to make this a two-parter because it is freaking ludicrous what Donald Trump is doing here, man. First of all, he's trying to run this like a business, man, and it's not a business. You know what I'm saying? It's nowhere near business. So basically what you got is a bunch of rich white CEOs, a bunch of generals, and a bunch of Washington insiders. You know what I'm saying? Everything he said he wasn't going to do, he did. You know, he's supposed to be the outsider guy. But this ain't nothing but insiders. You know what I'm saying? He's got to fill 4,000 positions in it's, you know, and he passed out loyalty. You know, if you were loyal to him and you kissed his ass and polished his knob during the campaign cycle, like your Reese Priebus, who's nominated for chief of staff, I think named chief of staff now, or if you're Jim Miller, his communication guy, he's press secretary, and you know, General James Mad Dog Mattis, I got to give it to that guy because he was loyal to Trump. Now Trump's got him nominated for Secretary of Defense, but this dude is crazy. Got a crazy temper. Crazy temper. They call him the Mad Dog for a good reason, and he's been quoted in the speech in San Diego saying it's fun to shoot people sometimes. So that just tells you where his head's at, and that's what's crazy. A bunch of these cats that Donald Trump has got is that a bunch of these cats are, man, I hate to say it, are gung-ho, old school army dudes that are looking to war and go to war and start shit, man. It's the last thing we need. And I'm going to get into it because, trust me, he's got plenty of generals to go around and and plenty of rich billionaires, CEOs go around. Like I said, he's going to try to run this thing like a businessman. And you try to explain to this cat that it's the government, man. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with humanity and people, you can't be a cold-hearted business. You know, that's what blows my mind. But he thinks he can pull this off like a business. Of course he can't. You know, that's what's sad. That's the saddest part of all. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, let me finish making my snack here, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty. You know what I mean, Gene? So just work with me. Hopefully my mic's working. You know what I mean? I've been having mic problems and I'm a little rusty. It's been a few months because of my health issues. So I'm trying to get one more out before the first of the year. Then I'm going to take another 30 days off, try to get myself together. And then we'll get back in the swing of things and start knocking them out every Tuesday again. Just like always. Let me whip this up and let it cool off. A little late night snack for you guy. Seems like I'm already having problems. Come on, phone. There we go. So I'm back. All right, everything's working now. But anyway, let's get down to the nitty gritty, man. It's a scary sight. And all you Trump lovers out there, man, he's already proven that he's totally unfit to be president. What's his first faux pas? He talks to the president of Taiwan on the phone, and that's after he starts naming and nominating folks that are just shocking the establishment and the experts. And for good reason. Good reason, man. And we're going to get down to it. You know what I mean? Because this is what I want to tell him.
And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit!
Because Clark Griswold keeping it real. But anyway, so you got James Mad Dog Mattis, who said it's fun to shoot people. That's the kind of dude you want as Secretary of Defense. A dude that thinks it's fun to kill human beings and shoot them in the head. And then, of course, he starts passing out favors to all the, I have to give to Trump. If you were loyal to him and you polish his knob, he's throwing bones. Like Rice Priebus, the former head of the RNC, who's now the chief of staff. But then you start getting into these billionaire CEOs. You got the Secretary of Treasury who's been nominated, Steve Mnuchin, who's a movie producer. He's the CEO of Dune Capital Management. But he worked with the boogeyman, the right-wing boogeyman, George Soros, that made a bunch of money. He's also a Goldman Sachs dude. For some reason, there's always going to be a Goldman Sachs dude up in the Treasury. I don't understand that. That tells you right there something shady's going on. And it gets better. As you know, the shocking Attorney General, we nominated Jeff Sessions. So, dude's so racist, he couldn't even be a federal judge in the 80s, man. He was so racist, they shot him down in the 80s. How screwed up is that, man? In this 2016, do you think he's got less racist or more racist? I'm thinking probably more. Like I said, but I got notes, yo. That's why this is going to be a two-parter, man. I don't even think I'll be able to do climate change. I'm talking about I ended up writing 10 pages of notes here. We're going to move on to the Secretary of Commerce. He nominated another billionaire, 78-year-old named Wilbur Ross. He liked Trump, and he made one statement I like. He said we need a radical approach to government to help the middle class and lower middle class, which sounds good. But also, like Trump, he knows how to finagle debt and make money when people lose money. He's one of the people that, once again, is a vulture, and Trump's nominated several of them, and I'm going to get to it, that make money when everybody else is losing money. You know what I mean? Makes money off losing. And he calls himself the king of debt, which I don't know what Donald thinks about that, because Donald thinks he's a master of debt too. And this is where it gets goofy again. Secretary of Labor. He nominated Andrew Pudster, who's the CEO of CKE Restaurants or Carl's Jr. Your Hardee's. Well, this dude strongly opposes the $15 minimum wage, the living wage. He also opposes broader overtime pay and the Affordable Care Act. And he's been accused of dozens of labor violations. Dozens and dozens. And for making sexist commercials. So that's what we got a Secretary of Labor. Another multi-millionaire, possible billionaire. You know, a bunch of CEOs. Donald Trump don't realize, once again, this shows you how he has no grasp of the position in front of him. Newt Gingrich said 3 or 4 weeks ago in an article, I think in the Washington Post or the New York Times, that Donald Trump came to him in private and said that he didn't know that the job was this big, the scope of the job was this big. I mean, what are you talking about? How do you not know it's this big, right? Once again, it just proves my point. Donald Trump, it's just a pissing contest for him, man. Everything's a competition. He just wanted to win. He didn't think he was going to win, and then he wins, and he don't know what to do now. You know what I mean? So we go on, and this is where we start getting into the nut jobs. This is one of the people who is a straight kook, and I'm trying to educate y'all. The Secretary of Education he's nominated is Betsy DeVos. Now this chick is don't get me wrong. Excuse me for a second. This lady has openly said she wants to eliminate all public schools in the past. And she's big on charter schools and this voucher bullshit, right? But she also still stands up for the Common Core principles, which Donald Trump has started against. So I'll give her props on that. But the fact that she's openly said she wants to eliminate all public schools is insane. Because basically she wants to have charter schools where, you know what I mean, you get these vouchers and you get forced indoctrinated into whatever religion or whatever bullshit they're trying to force into your head. You know what I mean? Or whatever agenda they're trying to push and indoctrinate into your kid. Total nut job. Total nut job. Very wealthy, extremely wealthy, worth probably close to $1 billion. One of the biggest, her and her husband is one of the biggest Republican donors out there. Then we move on down to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, Donald Trump actually made a decent call on this almost. He nominated Tom Price, who's a doctor. You know what I mean? I think he's an orthopedic surgeon. He's a doctor, and he's written 5 or 6 different versions of the replacement for Obamacare. They're basically a hybrid of Trump's plan and Paul Ryan's plan, where it's tax credits and a voucher, and they break down the walls, and you can buy insurance across state lines. The only part of that I like is that you can buy insurance across state lines, and Trump's saying he's going to stick with the no denial for pre-existing conditions. We'll see. As you know, Trump's the king of crawfishing. All this rhetoric he spit to get all these working white middle class to vote for him, he's backed off just about everything he said because he's a con artist and a liar. And these folks still think he's going to make a change. And a year into it, they're going to wish to God they didn't know who this dude was, because he's proven that he's totally unqualified. It's no shocker. He's totally unqualified. You know what I mean? You've heard for years Republicans talk about, we need a businessman to come in there and run it. Well, the difference is it's not a business. The government's not in it to make a profit. You're dealing with humanity, man. You know what I mean? You're dealing with human beings. But we'll keep going. Now, the National Security Advisor is a loose cannon, who he's nominated. He's another general who's a loose cannon wild card. Might be the loosest cannon of all. Dude's name was he's General Michael Flynn. He's leaked classified info several times. He also called Islam a vicious cancer that must be excised from the body of Muslims. You know what I mean? Not just radical Islam, but all Islam. You know what I mean? Which again goes against, which a lot of stuff Donald Trump don't understand about law, constitutional law, totally goes against the Constitution. You know what I mean? Like Trump, he has a temper. At one time, he was head of the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, but he was pushed out because of his hardcore management skills. They said that dude was an asshole. And so he was forced out, man. And he was also reprimanded for sharing classified information with British and Aussie troops on the battlefield. And that he didn't follow proper protocol in sharing that information. So what protected? You know what I mean? He didn't use the proper security protocols. He just basically said it over a damn radio, his unsecure line. And he copped to it and said he did it, right? He did get an official reprimand. They took him to the woodshed, gave him a little talking to, caught him on the carpet. You know what I mean? And he's fixated. This is what gets me wrong. He's also, here's where we start with the pattern of Trump being buddied up with the Russians. As you know, they should be investigating. I said all along the Russians were trying to rig it for Trump. I said it for 6 months ago that they were hacking to try to sandbag Hillary, and they did. Well, now it comes out as a consensus. You know what I mean? They're trying to say the NSA and the CIA is full of shit. I've seen right-wingers say, well, they work for Obama. But it's not like that. Those dudes that are on the ground doing the analysts doing the real work, man, they've been working through 3 or 4 administrations, Republican administrations. Hell, the dude of the NSA is the same dude that was head of the NSA when Bush was in office. So to say that he's in the bag for Obama is ludicrous, man. But everything's Obama's fault, right? Oh, my stomach's growling. We're going to have to go work that snack out. But anyway, just was in 2013, Michael Flynn goes to Moscow, buddies up, takes a picture of Putin celebrating Russia's state-owned English-speaking TV network, RT. Russia. It used to be called Russia Today. Now it's called RT. And then he's fixated on Iran and thinks Iran is fighting 4 proxy wars. And man, he thinks Iran is the root of all evil. He thinks the Iran nuke deal is a bad deal, even though it's not. Even though it pushed him back from having nuclear weapons for 15 years. And they've opened all the facilities to inspectors. And so far, they've been legit with it because they had no choice. Because the sanctions we put on them were crippling. We crippled them with the sanctions. We used a diplomatic force. See, that's what people don't understand. Nowadays, man, there's diplomatic actions and diplomatic force. You don't always have to run and bomb and kill, man. You will never get peace through a barrel of a gun. It's never happened. You know what I mean? You'll never force it. They'll eventually rise up against you. So we're going to keep on going. And here's the big one. Speaking of Russian connections. The Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. This dude has got one of the highest medals a foreigner can get from the Soviet Union, from Russian. The Russian Order of Friendship. He's made massive Russian oil deals where they were going to drill. They were going to drill in the Arctic, do deep water drilling in the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, and Siberia. But then Putin had to be Putin. He had to dip off in Ukraine and Crimea. So the European Union and the United States put sanctions on him. So that cost Exxon, he's the CEO of Exxon, about $1 billion. But him just partnered with Rosneft on these deals made the valuation of Rosneft go up $7 billion in 5 days. How is that possible? How is that legal? Where you can cut a deal with the company and the deals, not only does it fall through down the road, but if the deals are, in theory at that point, it's, you know what I mean? There's nothing concrete, but it's, you still get your company evaluated. The valuation of the company still goes up $7 billion. And guess who's the majority stockholder in Rosneft? I'll give you a hint. Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. So you know what I mean? He cuts one deal, their valuation shoots up $7 billion 5 years later. Which is, you know, they say Vladimir Putin is the richest man on the planet. That he's got close to $100 billion hid everywhere. Panama mostly. But they did say that the sanctions caused Exxon $1 billion. But they say as soon as Trump gets in office, he's going to lift the sanctions, and it's going to make Exxon make tens of billions of dollars. So there's another major conflict of interest right there, man. You know what I mean? That's almost like when Dick Cheney left Halliburton to become the vice president. He was CEO of Halliburton, And then we go to war with Iraq. And who gets the biggest no-bid contract and makes all the money? Halliburton. And who's got a shitload of stock options and makes a fortune off of it? Dick Cheney, man. It's the same thing. All you right-wingers and lower middle-class white dudes are getting played for suckers. As you see, these CEOs are lining up like Donald Trump. These vultures, these people who make money when the common man's losing money, and these dudes make fortunes off us losing money, are here to pick the bones, man. And y'all voted for it. I'm telling you, man, who does this? There's never been so many corporate CEOs and vultures, basically billionaire vultures, nominated. But let me see. Rex Tillerson, he's been an Exxon man his whole life. He worked his way up from the bottom. And guess how he worked his way up? He's only managed Russian accounts. So that tells you there's another guy like Mike Flynn, like Donald Trump, that's in cahoots in bed with the Russians. Is this a coincidence, all these Russian connections? No, man. Alexei Pushkov, who's head of Foreign Affairs Committee in the Soviet Union, is so excited about all these people with Russian connections that are being nominated and named to his cabinet or administration. He actually said that Trump continues to amaze the Soviet Union and the Soviet leaders, and it's sensational. And whenever your enemy is that hyped about it, you think it's a good thing? When North Korea endorses Donald Trump, do you think they do it because they think Donald Trump is going to make a good leader, or that they think he's a dumbass? They done it because they think he's a dumbass, man. We're going to regret Donald Trump so bad. He's going to make George Bush look like FDR, Abe Lincoln, or JFK. But like I said, Tillerson has made a massive oil deal in Russia in 2011 to drill for oil in the Arctic, deep water drilling in the Black Sea, just destroying the environment. In the Siberia. But one little side note about climate change. All these folks I've been arguing with, and most of them are conservative, all of them are conservative, who don't believe in climate change because they say it still snows, so they don't count, they don't realize, because they're uninformed and ignorant about what climate change is. Weather and climate are two different things. You know what I mean? They taught us this, a little side note, they taught us this in fourth grade science. The greenhouse effect. The more CO2 that gets in the atmosphere gets trapped, and it causes the ocean water to heat up, which causes glaciers and ice formations to melt, which causes the sea level to rise. And it only takes inches, half a meter to a meter, which you're saying we'll see by 2050, will cause over 1 billion people, force 1 billion people to move. Half of Florida will be gone. And it's going to cause a pandemonium, man, when you have 1 billion people rushing inland to move somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It ain't going to be gradual. It's going to be overnight. And you're going to have a lot of islands, especially in the Pacific, that are totally gone, man. This ain't no joke. All you have to do is go look at the ice core. And it's easy. People are lazy. They just don't think they can grasp the science. But the science is easy when you learn it in fourth grade. Look at the ice core samples that are telling you that 80,000 years ago what the CO2 levels are, and how the CO2 levels in the past 100 years since the Industrial Revolution have skyrocketed. You know what I mean? Have exponentially risen. And that's not coincidence, that's man-made. You know what I mean? When you could go 80,000 years, and then in 100 years, we blow the 80,000 year levels away. Common sense tells you it's man, right? And Donald Trump, to Tillerson's credit to all you right wingers out there, he's the CEO of Exxon, and he even has admitted and acknowledged that climate change is real and it's man-made. So if the head of the biggest oil company in the world admits to it and accepts the science of it, how can you not, right? But like I said, he made a deal with the Black Sea, and the deal's on hold because of the sanctions. But by him cutting that deal, he now, this is crazy, Rosneft, which is the government-owned oil company in the Soviet Union, Russia, now has a chance to get a stake in some Exxon projects in North America and West Texas and Deepwater drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. So as soon as Trump gets in, Vladimir Putin and them are going to come over here and make money off us on that drill, baby, drill. They're going to drill, baby, drill, and take our oil and make money off of it. Man, y'all are suckers. I can't wait 100 days. Cannot wait. You know, the sadist to me kind of wanted Trump win so I could bitch and moan like all these conservatives are bitch and moan. Because y'all going to be begging for Barack Obama in a couple years. I promise you. But see, we're going to keep going. But that's another list of conflict of interest about letting like Tillerson be in all these oil deals in Russia, massive oil deals. And they say when they lift the sanctions, that Exxon is going to make tens of billions of dollars. And that's not coincidence, but we're going to go on Secretary of Homeland Security. And it's like I said, the rumor that nominated John Kelly is leading the list. He was previously responsible for managing security of the drug trafficking in South America. He also oversaw the operations of Gitmo and actually said there are no innocent men down there. And he pushed back against the Obama administration to close it down, which is sad because Gitmo should have already been closed down. But here's the kicker. Coming to find out after the first roundup at Gitmo, I think they said 70% of them dudes were innocent, but we treated them so bad at Gitmo that we converted a bunch of them into militant, radical Islamic militant jihadists. Look at al-Baghdadi, who's now head of ISIS. You know what I mean? He was just a regular imam. We see him down in Gitmo, treat him like shit, and now he runs ISIS. You know what I mean? And that's on Bush. And that's what people don't understand. We've got to the point for every terrorist we kill or treat like shit in Gitmo, we're creating 10, 20 more terrorists, man. It's dumb, stupid. We should have shut Gitmo down a long time ago. That's one legacy of Obama. Obama has done several things I don't like, and that's one of them. It's one of them right there. But we're going to keep on rolling. Director of National Intelligence. He's nominated Admiral Mike Rogers, another general. But he's nominated more generals. And I'm talking about not your laid-back intelligent generals like Colin Powell. You're gung-ho, want to blow up the world, looking to war, hate Iran. You know what I mean? They're just warmongers. And there's one right after another. Here's another one. He was the Admiral Mike Rogers. He used to be head of the NSA. He was Director of National Intelligence. But the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, and the Defense Secretary, Ash Carter, done something that was unprecedented and recently recommended that Obama replace Rogers. They wanted the NSA to be more civilian. They have problems with his management style, and they said he had security issues during his tenure. He had a bunch of security leaks. So, once again, like when people would say, the CIA's in the bag for Obama. Well, this guy right here, Admiral Mike Rogers, is the head of the NSA, and Trump wants to keep him on. Because people don't realize, man, these guys are in the government now. They're rooting for whatever the president's agenda is. They don't root for any president. They're rooting for America. So to say they're in the bag for one president or another is total horse shit. And anybody that believes that, I hate to tell you, you're ignorant of the facts, man. But like I said, so they don't even want that dude in office. Both James Clapper, head of the Director of National Intelligence, and the Defense Secretary Ash Carter, both are trying to drum that dude out of office. And Trump wants to keep him, man. All right? But there's other rumored candidates. There's the ex-FBI agent, Congressman Mike Rogers, who was former chairman of the House of Intelligence Committee. And there's Pete Hoekstra, retired Lieutenant General Joseph Kelly. But they say the front runner is the guy who's in the driver's seat right now, Admiral Mike Rogers. Now here's where it gets silly. This is another one of these off the wall, totally unqualified for this position, to be nominated for this position. Secretary of Energy. And it's rumored that Rick Perry is in the driver's seat. You know what I mean? Be Secretary of Energy. Now here's what's ironic about that. If you remember when Rick Perry was up for president, he had his oops moment where he had the brain fart during the debate about the 3 departments he wanted to eliminate. Well, the one department he couldn't remember happens to be, guess what? The Department of Energy, man. And now he's in the running to run that shit. And what does he know about running the Department of Energy? You know what I mean? He was a crummy governor of Texas. He run the debt up about running the state in the ground. That's why he got beat. He's not the governor no more. But the fact he's totally unqualified to be Secretary of Energy, why would you even want a guy to be Secretary of Energy when he wants to eliminate the department altogether? So I think that is just silly. I'm hoping the rumors are not true on that, because that is silly as all get out. But we're going to keep the party rolling. And here's another one of these guys who run against Trump, who's run for president. Who's totally unqualified for the job. The soft-spoken, possibly overly medicated, and famous neurosurgeon, brain surgeon, Ben Carson, who's nominated for the Secretary of HUD, Housing and Urban Development. He's totally unqualified. He was rumored at one time to be up for Health and Education Secretary, which he would be qualified for. What the hell he's doing at the head of HUD, I do not know. That's once again, and technically, I think if he gets the job, it's illegal, because if you remember, he let it slip during the election that if Trump got elected, that Trump was going to give him a job, which is illegal to do that, to promise cabinet positions during campaign season. So there's another conflict of interest, another law that Trump possibly broke, because Trump don't know the ins and outs of being the man, being the president, man. But we're going to keep the party rolling. I'm telling you, man, I got some notes. I know this is boring, man, but you got to think how insane this is. Now we're down to the Secretary of Transportation, and this is such an insider, crooked-ass maneuver here. You couldn't be no more inside than Elaine Chao. To her credit, she's the first Asian woman in the presidential cabinet. She was dubbed as Labor Secretary. And, she has done some good things, but she's one of those Washington insiders that always gets appointed to a job or gets some cushy job, and I'll tell you why at the end here. She's been the CEO of the United Way, the directors of the Peace Corps, and you're like, man, that sounds awesome. She sounds like a real charitable woman with a big heart. No, she's the insider that's catching a big check because her husband just happens to be, guess who? Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. And she is up for Secretary of Transportation. And what does she know about transportation? Not jack shit. You know what I mean? But Donald Trump claims he wants to, and I'm all for it, claim he wants to blow a bunch of money on infrastructure. Because we need our infrastructure coming, and I'm all for it. I don't know where he's going to get money for the wall and all this infrastructure shit. Because his tax plan is insane about eliminating all the tax code except for 3 tax brackets. And I don't know how he's going to make up all the lost revenue. I don't know how he's going to pay for the wall, 3,500 ICE agents or Border Patrol agents he's going to hire, all these new deportation centers. And then on top of that, he's going to redo the highways and bridges. It's a pipe dream. He's not going to do none of this, man. He ain't building no wall. People are stupid if you think he's going to build a wall. But she's married to Mitch McConnell. But she kept her maiden name. I don't know if she did it because she's a strong-willed, independent woman, or she did it for more nefarious reasons. You know what I mean? So people right off the top wouldn't know it. She's married to Mr. Turtle Man, Mitch McConnell. Oh, Yertle the Turtle. But she, like I said, once again, somebody who's a total Washington insider, who's either had an administration job or some cushy inside Washington job. Plus, she's married to the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. Up for Secretary of Transportation, totally unqualified. Because Mitch McConnell's her husband, I'm sure she will get confirmed like it ain't no problem. And we're going to keep going because you thought that was crazy. Listen to this pic. Rumored. Secretary of Interior, you know what I mean? It's Miss Joe Six Pack and Mama Grizzly is back. Sarah freaking Palin, who's up for the Secretary, which is insane, of Interior. And let me tell you why it's insane. That would put her in charge of Indian Affairs, the National Park Service, and mining and land rights. And we know that she was drill baby drill. And don't think, and we're already having problems now with the land rights and the drilling rights. The pipeline in North Dakota. Just think that we're drilling everywhere. She'll be giving the rights out to every piece of mineral that we have. Totally unqualified for the job. She'd be better off head of game and fish. Totally unqualified. She's a climate change denier. You know what I mean? So there you go. There's 3 totally unqualified folks for the job. And it gets worse. Because there's other people that's rumored other than her that is even worse. Mary Fallin, the governor of Oklahoma, first female governor of Oklahoma. So that tells you how backwards that state is. It took to 2014 to elect a female governor of Oklahoma, which is sad. But it does control Indian reservations and Indian land and Indian rights. And she does have experience in that. So I'll give her some points on that. Because Oklahoma's one big Indian reservation. God knows I went to boot camp there. And then when I was doing IT work for Walmart, I went through there. And there's Indian casinos everywhere. They put them in tents. You know what I mean? The Indians are getting their money back in Oklahoma. They got toll roads. And you got to pay $3 to go down a road. It feels like you're riding a horse and buggies, potholes everywhere. They got casinos and tents. You know what I mean? They got casinos and convenience stores, man. It's insane. I hate Oklahoma. It's the worst, windiest state I've ever been to. I've been in about 25 states. And Oklahoma, by far, is the shittiest state, which is sad because it used to be a huge reservation. But like the white man always did, when we finally convinced and forced the Indians to move to this huge reservation, it was one of the shittiest pieces of land in the United States. And then we slowly whittled it down to nothing, man. Sad. And now we're trying to force this pipeline through Indian land in North Dakota, which is sad. And there's government officials, the police, who are being the henchman for the bad guy. You know what I mean? Giving people hypothermia, shooting them with plastic bullets in their groin. It's insane. But they finally stopped. And that's another thing Barack Obama's let me down on. Barack Obama needs to put his foot down on that. And I understand what he's saying. As soon as he puts his foot down, 2 months later, Trump's going to come back and he's going to force it through anyway. But he can stop it until then, man. He's really let me down on the pipeline. But Rick Perry, once again, is rumored also for Secretary of Interior, which he's totally unqualified for. It's like everybody who's run for president except for Jeb Bush and little Marco Rubio, Trump is rumored to give him a job. And it's a job they're totally unqualified for. Somebody else who's qualified for Secretary of Interior is Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers, the state of Washington. She is she's a powerful member of the Energy Committee, has made disability issues one of her side posts, one of her main focus in office, which is a beautiful thing. I'll give her props on that. But why is somebody who's a powerful member of the Secretary of Energy not up for the Secretary of Energy job? She's up for the Secretary. She's rumored to be up for Secretary of Interior. How ignorant is that? How insane is that? How's Rick Perry up for that job and she's not? You know what I mean? She's been on the Energy Committee and one of the most highest ranking senior members on the Energy Committee. she's overqualified for the job. You know what I mean? And like I said, let's see. Oh, here's a weird side note about her. She's the only congresswoman or person of all time who's gave birth 3 times while in office and kept her job. She'd spit them out and come back to work. So you can't say she's not a fighter, but why ain't she up for energy? That's another ludicrous maneuver by Trump. Ludicrous, man. She's so overly qualified for the energy. We're going to keep going. And I'm trying not to bore y'all, man, but you got to understand how insane most of these picks are and how unqualified these people are. And that just goes to show you Trump has not a freaking idea of what he's doing. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? I see the pitfalls in this. I see the holes in his madness. And I'm just some schlub, man, with a podcast and a jacked up back in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. And I can see where this is just a piss poor idea. But we're going to move on to the Secretary of Agriculture because it's another rich, climate-denying CEO that's totally unqualified to be the Secretary of Agriculture. You know what I mean? It's Forrest Lucas from Lucas Oil. You know, makes the Lucas Oil products, the little gas cleaner, the Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. He's another rich billionaire CEO. You know, I couldn't find another rumored candidate for this post. He's also founded a non-profit anti-animal rights organization, and it's called Protect the Harvest. And it's like anti-PETA. And you know what I mean? He's that hardcore dude. He's all about kill every animal you can, and not just in the herd, but animals having the right to kill them, treat them, test drugs and makeup on them. And their motto is kind of corny and cute. Keep America free, fed, and fun. Yay! Let's go kill some critters. And now we're going to get to probably the most evil bastard of them all. Not to mention that a lot of these dudes, or like Donald Trump, are known serial philanderers and cheaters. But here's the most evil bastard of all, and who's in Trump's ear and probably has the most influence than anybody. And that is the ex-CEO of Breitbart, Steve Bannon, who's a woman beater, who's anti-Semitic, who's racist, and who's really the leader and give a voice. Because Andrew Breitbart, he started Breitbart. He was staunch conservative, but he would never let his website go as far right as it has. And now it's home to white nationalists. If you don't know what a white nationalist is, it's basically a white nationalist is just a fancy spin term like alt-right for a racist, a Klansman. You know what I mean? You know, a white supremacist. That's all the alt-right is. That's all white nationalism is. White nationalism is a Christian belief that they believe God is white and he made white men in their image, and every race that's not white is subhuman. Which is silly because I don't remember that many white guys in the Middle East when all that shit allegedly went down. But he's blown the alt-right movement up in his chat rooms, in his forums on Breitbart. And you know what I mean? He's big like Alex Jones with the conspiracy theories. And I can't believe Trump ain't nominated Alex Jones's wacky ass for something. But he's, like I said, he's really blown up the alt-right movement. And like I said, once again, alt-right is just fancy spin for white Christian nationalism, which is white supremacy. And he has been charged with wife beating. He said his anti-Semitic remarks several times, especially about where his girls went to school. And he's been super controversial as the head of Breitbart, and has went out of his way to stoke the fires of bigotry into the movement the populist movement that really pushed Trump into office, man. And he used the same tactics that they used in Nazi Germany, and they've used a bunch of fascist states. So he went to Joseph Goebbels' playbook, and once again, people fell for it because he scapegoats the poor and scapegoats foreigners, just like Nazi scapegoated the Jews, and Nazi scapegoated the gypsies, and Nazi scapegoated the poor. You know what I mean? Because our problem is because of all these other foreigners, all these different people. That's the same agenda he's pushing that Joseph Goebbels pushed successfully back in the 30s. You know what I mean? Same book, different titles, same song, different tune, man. But like I said, he's so controversial. Groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League have been very vocal expressing that Bannon should not be included in the White House staff whatsoever. And other names rumored are campaign insiders who, like other supporters and surrogates who have shown loyalty, have been rewarded, like Reince Priebus and Mike Flynn, etc. The rumor names are campaign manager Kelly Conway as an advisor, Jared Kushner, who at the end of his campaign is really in his ears. Ivanka's husband, his daddy was a big-time real estate mogul who was a vulture like Trump, who got caught bribing politicians and was prosecuted by the one and only Chris Christie. And allegedly, that's why Chris Christie was, he was in Trump's back pocket for a few months, but allegedly that's how he got pushed out, is Kushner come in and hated on Christie and had an uprising against Christie because Christie's the one that prosecuted his dad and sent his dad to federal penitentiary, right? So, but he got in his ear because of Ivanka. Plus, there's lesser names looking to get advisor positions like Hope Hicks, who's the campaign press secretary, and David Bossie, who's pretty controversial in his own right. He got demoted down to deputy campaign manager. And his former campaign manager and biggest knob polisher of all, I can't stand him, Corey Lewandowski, who's such a sleazeball. At one time, he was famously getting paid by Trump, and CNN was paying him, and he was on CNN as a paid spokesman, a surrogate for Trump, and was getting paid by both of them, which is, if I had any conflict of interest and bias as hell, I don't know what he is. You know what I mean? But he lost his spot as the campaign manager because he grabbed a female reporter, Michelle What's-Her-Face from Breitbart, and roughed her up, man. And then he lied to deny about it. And so Trump had to kick him to the curb, which is another anomaly. How Trump's the first presidential candidate I seen in mid-campaign go through three campaign managers and still pull it off. I can't wait. Y'all are going to be begging for this dude. I'm talking about begging for this dude. Because you can tell you something about Trump, this is what I think about Trump.
Yeah, well, you smell like a bum's nutsack.
Right there's what I think about Trump. And when it comes to all these scam artists and CEOs right here, I promise you, this will be full before it's all over with.
Merry Christmas! Dinner was full!
I'm hurting. I didn't mean to interrupt Cousin Eddie, but I'm hurting, man. And I'm almost an hour in, man. We're getting to the end of it. And like I said, I know this ain't exciting, man, but you got to understand what's going on. What Trump's lining up. Trump's lining up all his CEO buddies to run it like a business, which is not going to work. And there's so many conflicts of interest. All these dudes have got inside deals where they're going to make a fortune. You thought crooked politicians made a fortune before Trump. These dudes are going to make massive fortunes because all of them are intertwined with inside deals, and they're all connected. 4 or 5 of them are connected to Russia heavily, like the chief of state, like Mike Flynn, like Trump, like Kushner. We're going to keep going. But when Troy Lewandowski roughed that girl up, Steve Bannon, being an upstanding guy and a wife beater and philanderer himself, tried to have his reporters covered up and didn't, instead of sticking up for his reporter at Breitbart, he basically threw her under the bus, man. He did. He threw her under the bus and called her a liar and everything else until there was video evidence that proved it. And then it caused such a small revolt at Breitbart. The few reporters at Breitbart, journalists at Breitbart that had any type of integrity or ethics quit and left. You know what I mean? And one of them released the Twitter feed where they were telling them to lie and to cover it up, man. But let's keep going. The director, and this is where it's gonna be some serious stuff. The director of Office of Management and Budget, OMDB, is rumored to be another nut, hardcore climate denier. Tom Coburn from Oklahoma, ex-senator. He's staunch anti-intellectual, staunch anti-science. He's staunch anti-evolution, and staunch anti-climate. Dude is so tight with money, and he wants to cut off so many government programs, and he's so fiscally frugal that when it comes to spending money on government programs, he got the nickname from his Republican colleagues as Dr. No. And this position gives him immense power over government spending, and it gives him the entire control of government infrastructure spending, which is scary, right? And Trump's got something about Oklahoma because he's nominated Coburn, the governor of Oklahoma, another senator from Oklahoma, and now he's nominated, and Oklahoma's up there when it comes to Baker States. This is another scary and insane nomination. Scott Pruitt, the Attorney General of Oklahoma, for the head of the EPA. Now, let me tell you something about Scott Pruitt. He is a staunch critic of, I'm talking about hardcore climate change denier, first of all. And the start, which is crazy to be a climate denier, after all the evidence, even China, even the head of Exxon, every industrialized country in the world realizes that climate change is real and it's man-made. And there's tons of evidence to prove it. And you know what I mean? People will pull out one kook scientist who's being bankrolled by some oil company, but they don't realize there's a consensus of over 90% of all climatologists and climate scientists. And you can't get over 90% of scientists to agree on anything. But they agree on climate change being real and being man-made because it's easy. It's 4th grade science, like I said. The more CO, it's the greenhouse effect. You learn it in 4th grade. The more CO2 in the air, right? It gets trapped in the atmosphere. It's going to heat up the oceans. It's going to make the ice melt, the oceans rise, and it's going to kill people and cause trillions of dollars in damage. Man, it's easy. It's eventually going to cause, like we're having now, crazy weather patterns, which I'm going to get into in part 2. I'm going to have to do a part 2 of climate change. That's why we're having these crazy wildfires and these crazy weather patterns. They just had a tornado in England a couple of years ago. In the history of mankind, known recorded mankind, there's never been a tornado in England. 2 or 3 years ago, they had a tornado in England. Look at all the wildfires in the Smoky Mountains. Look at the drought that's been going on in California and Texas. That's like in its 6th and 7th year, man. It's so obvious. Look at the way the glaciers are melting. Look at the way Greenland and Antarctica has lost so much ice in their ice packs. There actually is grass on Antarctica now. We're seeing spots of Greenland and Antarctica that's not being revealed in 50 and 60,000 years. You can actually, the North Pole is melted down so much, you don't even need an icebreaker ship. You can actually take a regular boat and float across the North Pole. It's completely thawed out almost. You know what I mean? It's tangible evidence. Like the parts per million of nitrogen in the atmosphere. They say we reached a tipping point. we probably will never come back. We'll never get under 400 million parts per square foot or square inch again. And I'll get into that because I'm going to have to do a part 2, obviously, because I'm hurting, I'm tired, and I'm getting to the end of this. And like I said, it's boring, but I just want to let y'all know what's really happening, man. What these cats are really about, what we got coming, what's coming. And I want my conservative friends to listen to what the guy you voted did. He's making picks that are so asinine that even people who voted for him, who don't even have a high school GED, know better, man. What we're going to go into, back to Scott Pruitt, Oklahoma Attorney General. He's a fierce critic of the EPA, hardcore climate change denier. And right now, he's got a lawsuit pending with the EPA over the regulations of power plants. I think there's too many regulations at a power plant. Really? Really. And then we're going to go into, we're down to the last 2, man, of the major positions. Remember, there's 4,000. CIA Director Mike Pompeo. He's that cookie congressman that kept trying to catch Hillary in the lie, drilling Hillary during all those Benghazi hearings. You know how many? There was 11, I think, at the end, but he was the one that tried to show her up and ended up getting embarrassed. But he's nominated for he's a Tea Party nut. You know what I mean? Hardcore Tea Party, one of the original Tea Party guys who come into the Tea Party wave in 2010. He's from Kansas, which Kansas is a model. If you look at Sam Brownback, who's going to set up took all the perfect conservative principles and the tax cuts and everything that they say will make America great. And now Kansas is so far in debt that they're having to cut its money from highways and raise taxes and everything else just to pick up the shortfall budget on education. You know what I mean? It was supposed to be the conservative dream. That was supposed to be set up with trickle-down economics and the big tax breaks for corporations that was going to create jobs, and none of that happened. And their economies and the job creation is, I think, the worst in the United States. If not, it's in the top 3. And it was supposed to be a conservative utopia. And look what happened when they installed all the conservative principles and reforms. You see what happens, man. It stymied their economy. But, so Mike Pompeo, congressman from Kansas, Tea Party guy, to his credit, he graduated West Point and Harvard Law School. So he's got to be a smart guy. But he was one of those main guys on the Hillary charge. You know what I mean? So maybe he won't be so bad. Trump's made some all right picks, like the Doctor for Human Health Services. That makes sense. To get a doctor. I don't know. His replacement plan is kind of iffy. You know what I mean? I'm more for single payer. We'll see how that works out. You know what I mean? Because Obamacare is going to be a lot to dismantle. People think they're just going to go in there and say, okay, Obamacare is over. But it's too intertwined in the insurance companies and these what do you call it? What every state has, what do they call it? All these little these insurance markets. Every state has, they broaden Medicaid, broaden Medicare. Man, it's too ingrained. It's going to take years to untangle it. You know, people think you're just going to go in and say, snap your fingers, it's over. It's not going to go down like that at all. But here's another asinine nomination. But to his credit, it's another woman who's a minority. But definitely, maybe the most unqualified of all his nominees. And that is Governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, who he's put up as UN ambassador, who has zero foreign experience. I don't even think she's ever left the country to go visit another country. That's how zero foreign experience she's got. And it's a vital role, man. It's ambassador to the UN. And like I said, like a lot of us nominated Pete's for cabinet positions and administrative positions, she's totally unqualified. She is, like I said, zero foreign policy experience. You know, what you would like figure is the most critical skill of all to be a UN ambassador. And you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get it down. Let's say 180, it's 120. I think I've done about an hour. I know it's been a while, man. I'm hurting. I know that was hard to get through, but I just want to let you know the missteps he's making already, not even counting about talking to the president of Taiwan, which pissed off China. And then he wants to talk smack on China. Well, we owe China $3 trillion. What happens if China wants to collect that debt? China's really upgraded their military and technology because they've stole it all from us. And they've got so many men in their army, they could just send lines of dudes throwing rocks, and we couldn't do nothing about it, man. We'd run out of bullets. You got to think. You got to think about China. There's 1 billion people there. 1 billion people there. So they could throw 100 million dudes at us, and what were we going to do about it? We only have 300 million people. You see what I'm saying? Pissing off China is insane. I don't know why Trump wouldn't want to do it anyway, because he gets all his clothes and shit made and ties and shit made in China to begin with. And all pissing off China's going to do is going to increase what you pay for Chinese goods at Walmart. All these cheap, plentiful China goods are probably going to triple and double, quadruple in price. Which I don't have a problem with it. I like buying American anyway, and I'm willing to pay extra to buy American. But all these jobs that Trump's talking about bringing back, they're not coming back. Look at the 1,000 jobs he lied about in Carrier. He didn't save 1,000 jobs. He ended up saving about 300 jobs, and the deal he made, Mr. Dealmaker, was so bad that the head of Carrier said he's going to take the money he's going to get out of this deal, and he's going to automate his plant, and probably them 300 people that got their job saved is going to be out of a job because the robot's going to take their job the next couple of years, thanks to Donald Trump giving this dude all his tax breaks and money. So basically, he didn't save no jobs. You know what I mean? And, you know, people want to bitch about Barack Obama, but Barack Obama bailed out the auto industry and saved 1.5 million jobs. Barack Obama created jobs for how many straight months now? 70, 80 straight months. It's a record. But you don't ever hear nobody tooting his horn about that. You know what I mean? Barack Obama's been a job creating machine. Barack Obama has saved more jobs than Donald Trump and all these CEOs have ever hired. Probably combined, if you look at it. You got to think 1.5 million jobs, that's a lot of jobs, man. But I'm going to get off here because this shooting the breeze with your man like Byron Lloyd. And I know this is like pulling teeth, but I just want to let y'all know where Trump's coming from, man. And what to look forward to. You know what I mean? It looks like a cluster F. You know what I mean? A shitstorm, a cluster bomb right out the gate. It's like he intentionally picked the wrong people for the wrong job. Don't get me wrong, he has some qualified people in there. He just has them rumored or nominated for the wrong job, man, which makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. And you think he's got to be smarter than that. You want to think that he's not doing it because he's incompetent. Is he just trying to sabotage the government right out the gate? Who knows? We're going to find out, man. I know he's got me scared. He's got my butthole puckered up. I don't know about y'all. And I know all these people who were populist and wanting to change and all this shit. Y'all going to be regretting this dude, man. This dude has put nothing but generals and admirals and rich billionaires in power. Do you think a billionaire gives a shit about Joe Sixpack, who's working 40 hours a week, or a school teacher, or anybody, a construction worker? Do you think they even know how to relate to y'all? Do you think they even give a shit? Or do you think they're in there to make rich people richer and to scrape up every penny they can scam and scheme out of this deal? I tell you, it's the latter, man. But I'm going to get off here, and I want to say one more time,
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
and a Happy New Year, and I'm going to try to do part 2 on climate change because I'm still shocked with all the evidence, and not even the scientific data and evidence you can go look up on legit scientific websites, NASA, Scientific America, you know, the National Oceanograph and Weather Association, you know, legitimate data, but there's actually visible data where you can go look at glaciers melting, you can look at Greenland melting, you can look at Antarctica melting. It's getting to that point, and these folks are listening to these talking heads who aren't experts. Your Glenn Becks of the world, your Bill O'Reillys, who are media whores who'll say anything to sell a book or to push their agenda, who say it's hundreds of thousands of years away. We will be feeling the effects by 2030 to 2050. You know what I mean? Our children and grandkids might not even exist in the next 100 years because, well, like I said, I'm going to try to do a part two. I'm going to get off here. I laid it down for y'all. I wish I could have been more entertaining, but this is serious, man. We're in a serious way. We're in a bind here. I don't know what this guy's doing. I have no clue. Obviously, he has no clue either. But this is shooting the breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd, dumping on Trump once again. And I hate to do it because, look here, unlike those Obama haters who like Rush Limbaugh and a lot of these right-wingers and racists who openly rooted for Obama to fail, even though they don't realize Obama got the job at the worst time in history, saved the economy from collapsing, saved the auto industry from collapsing, and has created jobs, record number jobs for like 70 months in a row now. It's insane. You know what I mean? But y'all never give him credit because he's black, and most racists won't give him credit. Donald Trump won't accomplish a third of what Obama will, and y'all want to build a statue for that sloppy bastard. But let me tell you something. I'm going to try to do a part two on climate change because it's amazing this day and age how, and Trump's another example of it, how instead of in the age of information technology when we should be getting smarter and we should be more intelligent, people are pushing the anti-science agenda. You know what I mean? They're going anti-intelligence. It's amazing, man. It blows my mind how with all this technology, we're getting dumber, not smarter, and people believe anything. I see so many fake news articles people post that are insane. Like they got training camps, ISIS training camps in America. You know what I mean? And this fake news site knows about it, but the NSA and CIA or FBI are clueless. You know what I mean? Really, common sense should tell you better than that, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't think the NSA, man, come on now. Don't get me wrong, our security apparatus has failed us before, but they're not that incompetent. You know what I mean? Well, not yet. We'll see who Trump puts in there. They might be by the time Trump's over with. Hell, by the time Trump's over with, we might be all speaking Russian. You know what I'm saying? The way he likes to polish Putin's knob, and the way he's got Tiller in there, and Flynn in there, and several other generals are in cahoots with the Russians and big buddies with the Russians. But like I said, I'm going to get off here. This is your man. He is I'm him. Byron A. Lloyd, this is Shooting the Breeze, and I'm Audi 5000 G.